Hello, everyone. This is Lee Jackson. Welcome back to our Circle podcast. Very excited today because I have two guests with me. One is Chris Kappes, who is our new Omnichannel Vice President, as well as Jessica Sibila, who is the Executive Director for the Exhibitor Advocacy. Did I say that right?
Well said.
The Exhibitor Advocate.
The Exhibitor Advocate. I have been corrected. Thank you. How are you all today?
Good.
Thanks
You
for
can give her a
having
plug
Oh,
for that.
we're going to go ahead and give her a plug. She is on the cover. Can everyone see this? She is on the cover of Exhibit City News. How's that?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Well,
Thank you.
She said she has a few of these at home too.
Oh,
If
she
you-
does?
If you need an extra copy, just
I'll send you one.
So I'm going to start this off by asking you, Jessica, tell everyone about yourself. We already got your title and your name, but
Yeah.
what is Exhibitor Advocate?
Yeah, so the Exhibitor Advocate is a newly formed nonprofit association. We are specifically dedicated to supporting exhibitors. So we are here to amplify the voice of the exhibitors within the exhibitions and events industry. We're here to help exhibitors address their pain points and work with all stakeholders within the industry to collaborate and bring about change in the industry that will be supportive and create success for all stakeholders within
Wow.
the industry.
why has this not been something that's been introduced sooner?
It actually has. So there was a previous association for exhibitors called TSEA.
Yeah.
It was the Trade Show Exhibitors Association. And it dissolved in 2012, and I'm sorry, yeah, that's right, 2012. And a lot of our founding members are from TSEA. So we are kind of a group of exhibitors that were part of the advocacy committee on TSEA that have been meeting and talking about industry issues for the last 10 years. We've been meeting on a monthly basis, sharing stories about our experience on the show floor, supporting each other, helping each other out, and really felt like as we came back from COVID and saw some of the challenges in the industry be exacerbated as we came back from COVID, it was really critical to us that we start talking about what exhibitors need and ensuring that exhibitors have a seat at the table in the industry at large. So we kind of regrouped and created the association.
It's definitely much needed.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
What are some of the biggest challenges that exhibitors have today?
The number one issue that exhibitors have today is around rising costs. We know that costs were high before COVID, but it is just gotten even worse after COVID. We are seeing rising costs that are anywhere from 10 to 30% higher than they were pre-COVID levels. It is unsustainable for us to be in a position where costs are rising to that extent, right? We understand inflation, we understand things happen, shipping has gone up, right? But for certain costs to be so unpredictable and unjustifiable is a challenge, and we've got to do something about that as an industry so that we don't lose exhibitors.
So where are the pain points with respect to prices?
Yeah, so everyone's going to talk to you about drayage, material handling, right? That is the number one piece. But there's other issues as well, right? There's issues around rising costs in electrical charges. There are issues around rising costs in food and beverage charges. So these are things that are starting to become more prevalent, and we can't just say it's just one issue, right? There's a lot of different costs that we need to address as an industry.
How long have you been in this, and what made you become an exhibitor advocate? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you have to know the industry pretty well.
Yeah.
And you must have had some pain points, or did you just wake up one day, I'm going to be for the exhibitors and I'm going to do this? Like,
Yeah.
how did that become where you are
Yeah,
today?
I've been in the industry for over 20 years,
Okay.
Predominantly in the natural products and food and beverage space.
Right.
I was a corporate exhibitor for about 15 years,
Okay.
but prior to being a corporate exhibitor, I was on the show management side. So
Okay.
I worked for the company that managed Natural Products Expo West and East and a number of other natural products shows,
Okay.
and really learned the kind of the other side of the industry, and then ended up being a corporate exhibitor. So I have kind of both sides of the industry knowledge in that sense. And I've always been a passionate person, and I've always been a person that when I see a challenge or an issue, feels compelled to speak up. And I think the exhibitor advocate has given myself and a number of our colleagues the opportunity to share that passion for the industry and to speak up on behalf of exhibitors, because there's a lot of folks that don't feel that they can speak up about the challenges that they have, whether they're afraid of retribution or that they don't have the power, whatever the issue might be. And I think those of us that feel passionate about making sure that this industry thrives for the future, we know that it is important for these issues to be addressed and that we have a sustainable industry moving forward.
Let's talk a moment about the show organizers and kind of the feedback you're getting from them, because while we certainly want to support the exhibitors, I'm sure they're looking at it from their perspective, which is the lens is a little different, right?
Yeah, yep, that's right. I think for our show organizers, many of them are not aware of what their exhibitors' needs are. The number one thing that we think that show organizers can do is to have an exhibitor advisory committee, to have a committee that's not ceremonial, but a committee that meets on a regular basis, provides robust feedback on things that are working and things that are not working for them within the show. And if a show organizer can get that level of input from their exhibitors, then they have the opportunity to, number one, do something about the challenges that exhibitors have, or number two, if they choose not to make change, to communicate why they're not making change or what they are trying to do. And I think communication and working with exhibitors is critical to the success of both parties in this. And so having that exhibitor advisory council gives the opportunity to the show organizer to make that happen.
How long have you been in that position as executive director?
So we formed the organization 6 months ago, so we're brand new. But we, like I said, we've been talking about these things for 10 years. So these are not new issues. These are not new challenges. But it is important for exhibitors to have a voice and a seat at the table when we're trying to address these things.
And has there been any feedback from the exhibitors? Like, are there certain things that you've done that's made a change in the 6 months period?
I think that what we are trying to do right now is to make sure that exhibitors know that they have a voice. We have been very pleasantly surprised that the stakeholders within the industry are supportive of having the exhibitors have a seat at the table. We think that associations are going to be very interested in the data and the research that we put out that will help them understand how to support exhibitors. We are coming out with a labor study in the next couple of weeks that will showcase the average labor rates in 15 cities across the U.S. That will be incredibly important not only to exhibitors to be able to budget and predict their costs, but to show organizers to be able to look at that data and benchmark it in a way that they can then determine where they fit. And do they have some negotiations that they need to do with their suppliers?
Yeah, I was on your website prior to us talking today and noticed that there weren't any show organizers as members or participants.
Well, we don't have our member list online, so what you were probably seeing was our sponsor list.
Could be.
Yes.
Do you have, I guess, in the spirit of looking at it from a holistic perspective, how many show organizers have kind of signed on in respect of
you're putting me on the spot. I don't know how many exactly, but the show organizers are absolutely members, and we have show organizers as members of the association.
I would think they'd want to be a part of that. I mean, that way you become a true voice.
And we want them to be members, right? We want every stakeholder to be a member of the exhibitor advocate, because although we exist to amplify the voice of the exhibitor, we can't do that without the support of the show organizers, the general service contractors, the suppliers. Everyone has to come to the table together to find a way forward that is successful for all parties.
So what would be, kind of looking ahead, some of your roadmap in terms of goals you'd like to achieve over the next 6 to 12 months?
I mean, ultimately, we exist to make sure that exhibitors have what they need. So we will consistently ask our exhibitors to tell us what is happening in the industry for you right now and how can we support. Because rising costs are a major issue, we will be showcasing data that talks about what costs look like and sharing that information out with show organizers so that the stakeholders can address costs in their respective areas and determine where negotiation is important, right? We also know that data is critically important. So we will have a survey that will be going out in the next couple of weeks that will ask exhibitors exactly what data they need. And we can share that information, that insight with show organizers to say, look, here's the data that makes your exhibitors more successful. And we'll ask show organizers to think about ways that they can partner with their exhibitors to make their involvement in the show more successful, whether that's matchmaking or networking or sharing audited data, ways that exhibitors can create success, not just by showing up and hoping that their buyer walks by the show, the booth that they have, but how do we help our exhibitors make those right connections and put an ROI on their show? And then we also have a great partnership with Explori, and we will be working with them on an ROI system that will allow exhibitors to be able to benchmark where they're at in their return on investment for their particular show or multiple shows that they might have, and how that compares to other exhibitors that are out there. So we're really excited about the data that we'll be able to put out to support folks, and the tools that we're going to be able to provide to exhibitors.
So how are you getting to the exhibitors right now? I mean, there's so many shows, obviously, and you're in 6 months' time. How can they find you? Are all the show management working with you right now? How is that working?
We are sharing the word as broadly as we possibly can right now. Anyone who will listen, we are asking everyone to go to exhibitoradvocacy.com. There's a blue button at the top that says join us. Click on that button so that you can become a member. Membership is free right now. We want as many people as possible to join the organization so that we can spread the word, share the work that we are doing, and really help exhibitors understand that they have an outlet again for their voice. Yep.
So you've been covering a lot of the shows or walking through the shows, right?
Yeah, we're walking through the shows. We're working with, as you saw on our website, a lot of the exhibit houses that have exhibitor clients that are sharing our work with their clients. We have spoken at IAEE, the International Association of Exhibitions and Events, where we talk directly to show organizers. We've spoken at Exhibitor Live, and we'll speak again in April at Exhibitor Live again. So any opportunity that we can get to connect with the industry at large is really important to us.
What are other issues or that's really stood out for you when you're talking to the exhibitors other than cost? Were there a couple other things that really stood out? Yeah,
I mean, I touched on data a little bit, but the thing that comes up right now is workforce issues, staffing issues. We are seeing a huge influx of new people into the industry that don't have the experience or the education that we are accustomed to. And of course, that's happening in every industry. But we're also seeing a lot of folks that have left the industry that we've not been able to backfill. And so creating that pipeline for the workforce is incredibly important. And one of our members is the Carpenters Union. They are doing a lot of incredible work to try to engage younger people into the industry. And so I think initiatives that support the younger workforce and really try to help a younger group of people understand what this industry is and how fun it is, how exciting it is, and that they can make good money in this industry as well, right? We want to bring those folks into the fold and be able to have an industry that thrives well into the future because we've got the workforce that can do it.
I think there's more and more colleges offering that now.
Yes.
The trade show or exhibit or design and things like that. That's
it's
targeted
really
to the industry.
And there's some nice partnerships between associations and schools. EUPA, the Exhibit Designer and Producers Association, has a great partnership that I think could be replicated in a lot of ways.
I think, reflecting on some of the SEER data, audiences by and large are down 25% at trade shows. Yet we see an increase in the expense. So I just ponder this question of, something's got to give.
Yeah.
And, the exhibitors are going to vote with their money.
Yeah.
And the show organizers, I don't understand why they wouldn't embrace the concept and why they wouldn't also, participate in figuring out creative ways of reducing cost.
Yeah. I think some of it's just knowledge, right? We have to raise the awareness of the fact that there's a challenge, right? Show organizers need to be aware of that. They're new too in some instances, right? So if they don't have the history, they may not know that there's a challenge. So we need to raise awareness around the issue. You talked a little bit about attendance drop, and yes, it's a challenge. Yes, I think show organizers, it's a challenge for them because they don't want to report this decrease in attendance. On the exhibitor side, though, that's not a problem for us. We want more quality rather than quantity. Right. And so what our message is to the show organizer is, it's okay if your attendance is down by 25%. As long as I'm still meeting with quality buyers, the people that I'm targeting, I'm happy with my involvement in the show. What I want is better matchmaking, better data on the buyer that I want to talk to, so that I have a better ROI on that increased investment, right? So finding ways to creatively reduce costs where we can, but where we can't and there is an increase in cost, we have to find an increase in value. And that's where the show organizer can come up with creative ways to partner with the exhibitor and allow some opportunity to do things differently that will help create a better value for the exhibitor.
Yeah, there's and I forget the title of the book that was written over COVID, and it was all about the future of events.
Yeah.
And this idea that you can't look at a trade show as an isolated event. And that's why we're Omnichannel. You're looking at the totality of a program. So it's online, offline, online, or offline, online. But you understand.
I get it.
So it's this contiguous, the continuum of connection that's really central. So I often ask myself the question: why aren't show organizers a little more consumed with looking at things beyond just that isolated event, becoming more of a holistic, I'll call it lead generator for their clients?
Yeah, I'm sure it's a challenge for them, right?
Why is it a challenge?
Well, I'm sure that they are accustomed to doing things a certain way. They know their events,
that model's
right?
broken.
It is, and there are other channels for exhibitors to get their message out to their buyers. And so what we want show organizers to know is that live events are important to us. I was just talking with a very large exhibitor at CES who was telling me that his C-suite hasn't made any budget cuts to their live event program because they understand the value of live events. And that is incredible because that's not the story everywhere. But for this exhibitor, they get it, they understand how important live events are, and they're investing in it. What show organizers need to be aware of is that for companies that have other opportunities or aren't successful in live events, they will go to other channels, and they've done that over COVID. They got comfortable with it. And so we need to make sure that show organizers are able to provide the value of a live event to the exhibitors.
I might challenge that and say that they need to look at their playbook.
Sure.
And say, hey, what business am I in? Am I selling concrete?
Yeah.
Or am I in the business of selling and developing engagements that turn into ultimate leads?
That's right.
Yep, so that's right. I think there's a little bit in I launched a business that was involved in mobilizing trade shows. So you have your brick and mortar, but the idea was mobilizing and creating an opportunity to travel, a traveling trade show. And I must have spoken to 10 or 12 major show organizers, and I thought, during COVID in particular, that they would be all over that because the brick and mortar was closed, but you still have to go to your customers.
Yep.
And not a one was willing to step outside their playbook and look at new and creative ways of engaging audiences.
Well,
so I think
the comfort level maybe is what they've always known.
Well, I think a lot of it too is that a lot they have a playbook that's been successful. It's very easy to bring it out and bump up the floor space so much every year. And I think, and I shouldn't quite put it like this, but they're not entrepreneurs, and many aren't, and it's hard to get out of that mindset. There's risk.
Yeah.
But when you're 40 or 50% of your income from a show organizer is coming from selling concrete, there's got to be other creative ways of subsidizing that percentage.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I think that's right. I think we have to get away from thinking about it as selling concrete to creating value, right? And finding a way to, that's right. And I think show organizers are understaffed just like everybody else, right? And so
that's a good point.
It's hard when you're understaffed to think about doing things differently. And that's exactly why the exhibitor advocate exists, because if you are strapped or challenged and you don't know how to create those opportunities, bring us in. Let us help you with that, right? We want to work with the show organizers to communicate to them what their exhibitors need and to provide innovative ways that they can create value not only for themselves but for their exhibitors as well. If the exhibitor's successful, it will create success for the show organizer as well.
You're dead on right, and unfortunately, with prices going up 10 to 30%, that's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable.
And the exhibitors, to your point, are going to look at other channels.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it already.
Well, and the challenge for an exhibitor is that if I can't bring my product to the show, to the live event, right? Because the cost is so high, because shipping's high and drayage is high and now electrical is high. And travel is high, right? And the experience is not worth it, right? Then I bring less equipment. I don't bring the products that my buyers want to see in that moment. I have to do some sort of additional opportunity to follow up with my buyer, right? The attendee then comes to the show and goes, wow, I can't see what I need to see here. So, and I have to do all this other stuff after the show, right? So maybe I don't need to attend the show anymore because I'm not getting what I need from the exhibitors there. It ends up being this cycle that can really affect the success of a show, but it takes a little bit of time for us to see that downward cycle. We need to get ahead of that, right? We need to make sure that exhibitors can bring their product to the show, that they feel empowered to have that product there and have those conversations that they need with their buyer. Creating that value gets ahead of that downward spiral.
That's a really good point.
So you recently went to CES.
Yes.
And what was the feeling on the floor?
Yeah, I think everyone's really excited to be
I heard
back
it's
at
gonna be
live shows.
To be live.
I heard it was expected 100,000 people.
100,000.
Like in the past is 175,000. So
That's
100 is good.
100 is great.
Yeah.
And for an exhibitor, as long as it's the right people, 100 is great, right? It doesn't have to be back up to pre-COVID levels if the quality of the attendance is higher, right? Okay. So I think that's really important. But the challenge at CES that we're hearing from our exhibitors is that costs have skyrocketed. My exhibitors are saying to me that they have seen costs as high as 30% higher. And that's consistent with other shows and other exhibitors that we've spoken to. So this is a pervasive issue. It's not a CES issue.
Right.
And we, like you said, 30% is unsustainable. There is no way that we can keep going up 30% every year. And we have to find creative ways to bring those costs down. And then the other issue that we've heard from our exhibitors is on staffing. It's been challenging to get as many laborers as they need to build their booths. Staffing has been a challenge at the hotels, right? If you think about hospitality staff that deliver food and beverage, right? Staffing is challenged everywhere. And so we're experiencing it in all areas of our life, and we're experiencing it here at the trade show as well. And we have to get to a place where we are staffed appropriately to manage the level of event that we want to have, the level of service that we want to have.
I have a fun question for you.
Yeah.
What is the weirdest request you've had or complaint from an exhibitor, and what was your advice?
I don't know that there's anything that's been weird, right? What is upsetting or hard to hear from exhibitors is when they call us and say, I placed my order on time, my order was on straight time, or it was, within the ranges of whatever the standard pricing was. And then I got to the show and XYZ happened, right? And I got my bill and I went from a $4,000 order to a $17,000 bill. And I don't know how to, no one will talk to me about it. I can't fight it. No one understands. I keep getting hit with these brick walls when I try to figure out why.
I don't think that's ever changed in 20 years.
It hasn't. And it's not okay.
Yeah.
It's just flat not okay. Mm-hmm. We have to get to a place where exhibitors can understand their bill, where they have some control over the charges that are coming to them. We can't keep doing this, otherwise we're going to lose our industry. Mm-hmm. And so we have to find ways to do this better. So I don't know that it's weird, but unfortunately it's not weird, which is the problem.
Common.
That's very common, actually.
It's the problem.
It's the hardest part.
It is.
Yeah.
It's the hardest part.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for the weird ones to come. We'll see what happens.
Right.
Well, I think I had a chance to get down there yesterday during setup, and the thing I noticed that the more pressure there is in the areas we're talking, the less the experiences can be enhanced.
Yeah.
And so there are some sacrifices. Yeah. Clearly, media is being pushed forward, but in terms of pure, I call it exhibit architecture, experience elements, it was not what it has been.
Yeah.
And so I go back to what's the guest experience like?
Yeah.
And is it going to, something has to give.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Look,
and so who suffers? The exhibitors do. Mm-hmm. Yet the exhibitors are the show organizers.
Yeah.
I mean, so it all is to your point earlier about a vicious cycle. Yeah. It is. It is.
It really is.
So.
And this was my first time at CES. Mm-hmm. I've seen the photos. I've seen the videos. I've always wanted to come, right? And so as a first timer walking the show floor, it is impressive, mm-hmm. right? The level of exhibit building, the level of lighting design. I geek out on the truss and, some of the structures that are there. It is incredibly impressive, right? Mm-hmm. But everyone that I'm talking to is saying the same thing, that this wow factor of CES has mm-hmm. kind of gone away, that mm-hmm. it's not as impressive as it was a few years ago. They talk about 2019 and even 2020, because if you remember, right, CES was one of the last shows. Yeah. So the impressiveness of those shows, when we had the ability to kind of create bigger things, right? Still at a high cost back then.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But there was a wow factor. And I think what you've seen with any trade show over the course of the last year that has come back after COVID, exhibitors are challenged by the pricing, right? They are, even if they come back that first year at pre-COVID levels, they get sticker shock at the pricing that they've got for this particular show, and they have to pull back. So we've got to get back to a place where live events have that wow factor, are so compelling that the attendee has to be there.
That's right.
And it's flipping the script a little bit,
Yes,
because show organizers always felt, well, if we get the attendee there, then the exhibitor has to be there. And that is true, but it is also the flip that, we need the exhibitors to be able to exhibit in a way that is impressive and interesting and tells their story for their product. So the attendee wants to be there. The attendee has to be there. I mean, we thrive on each other.
I wonder, I think as consumers and engaging in media all the time, mm-hmm. that our expectations are higher too.
Yeah.
So, we struggle with, from a company that orchestrates mm-hmm. experiences, of delivering that level of experience, that is consistent with what we engage when we're, wherever we're going into the field, whether it's a shopping mall. I mean, the malls here are incredible.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's just something we have to factor in.
And think about, that's how you get the buyer in your space, right? You create this experience,
mm-hmm.
you create something compelling that they have to see. Mm-hmm. But what seals the deal is the conversation.
That's right.
It's the face-to-face interaction.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's the drink you have after the show or the coffee you have while you're able to like really get to know somebody. And that happens so fast in a face-to-face environment versus in other channels, right? So being able to cultivate this channel and keep it thriving is incredibly valuable to every party, but to exhibitors, right? It would take years to do what they can do in a 3-day show.
Well, we're so lucky that, you know, if there was a blessing with COVID as it relates to our industry, it's that it's built the value proposition up that we're talking about.
That's right.
So, you know, you can't, that's been a blessing.
Yeah, I think we all were hungry to get back to face-to-face.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that we don't lose that excitement by sticker shock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What kind of experience or communication are you getting as it relates to exhibitors wanting to do more of their own thing, their own private shows, where they can control more of what they can't control?
Yeah, I think it comes down to cost. And again, I hate that it comes down to that, but it does, because if it costs me the same to do a trade show as it does to do my own event where I can control all the factors, right? That's a tough decision for some companies. So we want to see a situation where exhibitors see the value in going to the trade show, and if they want to have a private space, that they are supported by the show organizer to create that private space in the existing environment, right? And so I've seen, just today, I saw 2 incredible private spaces for big exhibitors at CES. And it was, you were enveloped in their brand. It was amazing. It was very different than being enveloped in their booth space. But based on what an exhibitor's objectives are for their show, they might need one or the other. And so being able to have a show organizer that, like CES, that supported these exhibitors to be able to create these environments in a private space, you know, I think that was incredibly beneficial for both entities there. Of course, it costs extra, and that's not going to be available to everybody, but that's where being able to do some creative things with your booth becomes really important for the exhibitors that can't have that private space somewhere off the show floor, right? They create that private space in their booth, which they do in partnership with their exhibit house. And we've got to be able to get back to play in that space, right?
Right.
Well, I think the fact that they're open to it, right? That's a good thing. Because you want to be able to, you're supposed to be supporting each other.
Exactly.
And working together. It's been, I feel like, a struggle. I've been in the industry on and off for 19 years. Yeah. And I see the same thing still.
But you're
right?
still a newbie. Still a newbie.
I'm a newbie. 19 years. Okay, total 17.
To me, you're a newbie.
And we hear the same things over and over. We need
issues.
to play nice in the sandbox, right? So we have to be able to support each other, and I think what you're doing is a great thing, and it's much needed.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're very excited about it.
So with that said, why don't you tell everyone how they can get a hold of you, the website, your email if you want to give that up.
The website is exhibitoradvocacy.com, and we are also on LinkedIn and Twitter. On Twitter, we are Exhibit Advocacy, and on LinkedIn, we are The Exhibitor Advocate. So again, exhibitoradvocacy.com. Go there, sign up, click join us.
And if you want one of these,
pick up a magazine from Exhibit City News.
That's right.
And she's on the cover of that right now.
It's a really good issue.
And do
reading
you have any
it.
other questions, Chris?
No, I'm out of questions. Just thanks for inviting me in. My first day,
very good
Here
questions.
we go, practically, yeah. So
You asked some really hard questions, and I think that was needed as well. So yeah, it was good.
Good. I pass.
You did pass. Thank you all for listening in. Don't forget to follow us and go to our website, wearecircle.com, and across our social media at Circle OGX, and our podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe to @Circle Podcast. Thank you very much.
Cheers.